Ever since the days racing on the sandy beaches of Daytona, Chevrolet has tied the knots to success. 39 manufacturers titles, 13 drivers championships since the 2000s, and a record 26 victories in the 2007 season. Big names such as Jeff Gordon, Tony Stewart, and Dale Earnhardt Jr. stacked the trophy case high, completely drubbing any other make on the speedway. They were certainly the kings of win on Sunday, sell on Monday. Over the past 3 seasons, if you want a race-winning car, howbeit you buy a Toyota. The Japanese-based automaker won more than half the races in 2019 and won its 3rd manufacturer's title in 4 seasons. For contrast, Chevrolet was shut out of a competitor in Miami for the 3rd season in a row and hasn't won a manufacturer's championship since 2015. The only thing going for them is the past, but Toyota is slowly breaking some of those milestones. Arising from these issues comes a few questions about the GM car company. Why are they struggling, and how have the dominators become the slowpokes on Sunday? First, we must overgo the origins for the bow tie's downswoon. The story for Chevrolet's downfall really started in 2017. Toyota took the best manufacturer title in 2016, but the Chevy teams were still highly competitive. Their flagship drivers were still performing, and they won the 2016 Drivers' Championship with the 48. Beginning a new campaign in Daytona, the Chevy SS had some horsepower, winning a good amount of races in the spring. Newly crowned 7-time champion Jimmie Johnson won 3 races. Kyle Larson overwent his breakout campaign, scoring 4 victories and building a case for Homestead. Chase Elliott lacked a victory but was consistent and had contending speed. Casey Kane, Ryan Newman, and Austin Dillon all tasted the champagnes of victory. Couple in a consistent Jamie McMurray, the bow tie knotted down 7 of the 16 playoff berths. Chevy was far from the level Toyota's Kyle Busch or MTJ were on, but they were miles better than the Ford camp. Larson and Johnson should win some races here and there and compete for a championship in Miami. As the postseason began in Chicago, Chevrolet stable began to fly the L on the pavement. 3 of its cars were eliminated in the round of 16. Kyle Larson, considered a championship contender, watched a 30-plus lead over the cut line diminish in Kansas. Jimmie Johnson's playoff magic ran out in the round of 8. Chase Elliott was on the verge of winning his first career race, however, and sending Chevrolet to the championship race. A Toyota put an end to those dreams as Matt Kenseth gained the nameplate their 7th victory of the postseason. Chevrolet, meanwhile, went winless in that 2.5-month stretch. Not to mention, for the first time under the new knockout-style format, they would not race for the Cup. It was devastating for the bow tie, but Jim Campbell assured a resurgence in 2018. After all, they would replace the Chevrolet SS, a model left unchanged since the introduction of the Gen 6. Taking its place would be the brand new 2018 Chevrolet Camaro ZL1. This car featured the curves and aero modifications its predecessor lacked, greatly rivaling the Toyota Camry. There might be some growing pains here and there, but this model was designed to completely obliterate the competition. Following Austin Dillon's historic Daytona 500 victory, the Chevrolet Camaro wouldn't win again until August. With every passing weekend, the car was looking more and more like a flop, and it showcased with their driver's performance. Kyle Larson followed up his breakout campaign with a goose egg in the wins column. Besides Kansas and Homestead, he wasn't a race caliber contender all season long and was eliminated in the round of 12. Hendrick Motorsports, meanwhile, was a consistently mid-pack team on race day. It took them 22 races to visit victory lane and another 10 for their first intermediate victory. Chase Elliott was the only bow tie competing for the driver's title in November, and he ultimately came up short of Homestead. For the 2nd year in a row, no Chevys would battle for the championship. Staple driver Jimmie Johnson also endured his first winless campaign as a full-time competitor, a part of just 4 victories during the 36-week stretch. Yet they had 1 year of notes for this car, and Ford would convert to the brand new Mustang for 2019. Surely year 2 would get them on the right foot, and they would make it back to the championship race. Beginning the season in Daytona, Toyota flexed its muscles as the league dominators, with Ford winning races with Brad Keselowski and Joey Logano. Once again, it was the Chevrolet Camaros playing catch-up. It took them 10 races to finally win a Cup race, and another 7 before their first checkered flag at a track not named Daytona or Talladega. Despite a 3-race win streak in July, Chevrolet was once again the 3rd best manufacturer. Kurt Busch had a horrendous round of 16, with a consistent number 1 team bowing down in late September. Kyle Larson finally won his first race with a Chevrolet Camaro after starting out 0 for 66. Chase Elliott, while being the fastest Chevy team on multiple occasions, was also the most inconsistent on the bow tie brigade. Constant mechanical issues and other mishaps prevented them from racing for a title. Loading up from Phoenix, Chevrolet would arrive in Miami without a chance at the Drivers' Championship. 3 years with nearly half the 40-car field, 0 appearances to their name. On paper, they were becoming a quantity manufacturer, truly an unacceptable result considering their historic resume. So why is Chevrolet struggling in the NASCAR Cup Series? Mired in all of this, Chevrolet has won the last 3 NASCAR Xfinity Series championships, and their truck program advanced 3 drivers to Miami. Through research and some critical thinking, I've come up with 3 main points to the bow tie's demise. The first relies with the brand new Chevrolet Camaro ZL1. Since the car's debut in the 2018 Daytona 500, they've only won 11 points-paying races. The Ford Fusion, an outdated model that was retired in 2018, won 19 races and a championship. Many fans and industry members alike have pointed to the front end as an underlying issue. When the car was originally designed, the pointed nose was seen as an element to increase aerodynamics. Instead, seemingly all it's done is affect the ability to push another car. Good restarts are critical in the NASCAR Cup Series, and you sure as heck won't get a great push from a Camaro. It also hinders their abilities on super speedways, albeit when everything goes to plan, they can win. See Talladega last spring. One other issue is brought to light by Dale Jarrett after discussions with a few drivers in the garage. When this car was first introduced in NASCAR back in 2017, it was in the best condition possible. Unlike the Toyota Camry, the Chevy teams were stuck in neutral on how to better the car's capabilities. Because of that, the drivability and performance of the car depends from track to track. The Camaro can excel on the road courses and super speedways by leading laps and competing for victories. When you go to some of the larger tracks like Phoenix or Pocono, however, that performance is nowhere to be found. You can also say the new optical scanning station set them back in 2018. Compared to the Mustang and the Camry, the model is vastly inconsistent, and it just hinders the progress and results after 35 races. The next main component relies with the loss of stable veteran drivers. This was the driver lineup for Chevrolet's latest Manufacturers Championship in 2015. Slowly over the next 4 years, many of these faces start to disappear. Jeff Gordon, who had won all 93 of his races driving a Chevy, stepped away 1 season removed from a career resurgence. After a Cinderella season, Furniture Row Racing switched to Toyota. That subtracted stage winner MTJ from the Golden Emblem. Tony Stewart faded into the sunset, concluding 2016. Not only did he retire, but he switched his 4-car operation from Chevy to Ford. That meant Kevin Harvick and Kurt Busch, 2 veterans consistently winning races, were no longer part of their roster. Dale Jr., a Chevrolet driver since his career began, hung up the helmet to announce races on NBC. More victors such as Jamie McMurray, Ryan Newman, Casey Kane, AJ Allmendinger, and Paul Menard either retired or switched to Ford or Toyota. Although they regained Kurt Busch in 2019, that's an insane loss of talent. Those drivers combined for 207 victories with the bow tie and 8 drivers' championships on the pavement. Experience is key, and the lack of those stable racers affected Chevrolet, especially when they switched to the Camaro. That aspect relates to the final point, as Chevrolet lacks a superstar to compete with Toyota and Ford. During the 80s, they had Dale Earnhardt intimidating the other competitors. In the mid-90s, a young Jeff Gordon emerged onto the scene and carried the manufacturer to more hardware. In the 2000s, Gordon, Tony Stewart, and of course Jimmy Johnson put them above Ford and then Dodge at the time. In the late 2010s, former Chevy drivers Kevin Harvick, Kyle Busch, and MTJ are leading the charge. This is all while Chevrolet themselves doesn't have a leader to counter-challenge. As of recently, 7-time has faded from his past glory. He went from winning number 7 to announcing his retirement in a 3-year span. Kyle Larson has showcased talent, but he lacks the results to show for it. Chase Elliott is a racer matured ahead of his age and has shown clutch abilities in clutch situations. Yet he is far from the league juggernaut Jimmy Johnson was 1 decade ago. The rest of the roster is pretty much unproven, inexperienced young drivers. Beginning 2019, only 4 drivers amongst the 6 top Chevy teams featured 5 or more years of experience. Once Jimmy Johnson hangs up the helmet in 2020, Chevrolet's current lineup will consist of 48 victories. Nearly 75% of those wins alone are coming from Kurt Busch. Even scarier, only 7 of the 12 competitive Chevy drivers currently have won a NASCAR Cup race. The youth movement is on full display for Chevrolet, but if they don't develop, those inexperienced no-name racers will become a growing liability. In terms of 2020, honestly, I think it's going to be year 4 without a competitor for the title. Just remember, they have to adapt to the brand new Chevrolet Camaro 1LE. It might resolve their issues with aerodynamics and drivability, yet they are going to struggle next spring. Chances are Ford and Toyota will dominate the first half, with the golden bow tie winning a race or two at Daytona. They'll be playing catch-up throughout the spring and well into the summer. Even if Kyle Larson or Chase Elliott win some races, they'll lack the stage points Harvick, Kyle Busch, and MTJ will have in the round of 8. Things could change from now until next October, but the chances of rewriting the standards in 2020 seems like a tall order. The critical years for Chevrolet will be 1 to 2 years into the next-gen era. NASCAR's goal with the vehicle is to further tighten the competition and create more parity. If they continue to struggle, more race teams will grow frustrated and they could switch to another manufacturer. Chances are it won't be the JTGs or Germains frustrated with these results. We've seen major teams leave the bow tie in the 2000s, so a team like Hendrick or Ganassi following suit wouldn't be a new occurrence. This is especially the case if a new manufacturer like Honda or Dodge enters the sport and shows signs of competitive ability. Chevrolet needs to get back on track in the early 2020s, or otherwise the next installment could be the downfall of the golden emblem. So anyways, this is NRF signing out, and just remember, life's a beach and then you drive.